Hey folks, Edgar Beharwick III here. On today's Curiosity Desk, terrifying mystery in the waters off Cape Ann. Whispers on college campuses that just won't go away. And a wild creature haunting the halls of one of Boston's most hallowed institutions. Since time immemorial, the mighty sea has been a source of wonder and terror. From the Kraken to the Leviathan, fearsome creatures have been said to haunt the briny deep. And here, along the rugged coast of New England, we are by no means immune.
So, sometime around 1630-something, a fellow named John Jocelyn shows up in Gloucester and writes this report about seeing a sea monster.
Oh my God, what the is that, bro?
That was the first written account of what we call the Gloucester sea monster. And he said it was serpentine, it has a turtle-like head, and gave the impression that it was this really big, terrifying thing. And people latched onto that.
We gotta call the aquarium or something, dude.
The ensuing disquiet didn't quite amount to hysteria, but it did endure.
It stretches on for at least a couple of hundred years. With some regularity, there's like these flare-ups, if you will, in sea monster sightings. A bunch of people are spending time on a beach. They all claim that they saw a sea monster. One fellow even says he shot it. Another time, a sea captain, so a person with a ship, says, you know what, I'm gonna hunt this Gloucester sea monster. And he spears it. And it turns out to be an Atlantic bluefin tuna.
That's a tuna, bro!
And it just goes on and on like this.
And it spread.
Look, sea monster stories pop up in just about every body of water. And here in New England and in Massachusetts, there's also the Scituate sea monster.
And this creature first appeared not during some long-gone colonial era, but in an age of computers and space travel in 1970.
This sea monster washed ashore. Thousands of people came out to see it. And people just were absolutely sure that this was the real-life remains of a sea monster washed up on the beach. Now here at Harvard, we have the Museum of Comparative Zoology, which is a part of this museum we're standing in. And one of the museum curators went down and took a look at it and said, oh folks, I'm sorry, it's the mangled remains of a basking shark. I am very comfortable saying there is no Gloucester sea serpent. I am also comfortable believing that there are creatures that we haven't seen yet, and those are both true. And so I think it's important that we hold both of those as possibilities, right, or as truths.
In the end, which is more dangerous? Deep waters or deep-seated beliefs? When does a harmless urban legend become something more wicked, perhaps? When it involves houses of ill repute amidst our halls of learning. You're on a college campus or near a college campus, and at some point somebody says, hey, did you know the reason why we can't have sororities is because there's actually a law in the books that technically classifies that as a brothel. Have you heard this before?
I have heard it, indeed. I went to college here in Cambridge at Harvard.
And not just here. Similar rumors have persisted for years in places like Lehigh University in Pennsylvania, the University of Rochester in New York, and William and Mary in Virginia.
The myth may have arisen from a few different things, including kind of older legal regulation of immoral uses, and then more recent regulation of unrelated individuals living together. Regulating immoral uses, including brothels, was within the power of the state. So there's an area of law called public nuisance, where basically local governments, state governments have the power to get an order stopping the operation of uses that are especially offensive.
Offensive how?
Typically, you might think of things like, imagine a hog farm that is, really emitting putrid stenches and lots of terrible things. That's your typical public nuisance. But late 1800s, early 1900s, public nuisance actions were brought often against suspected houses of ill fame and the like, and actually lots of other uses that people associated either with immorality or just kind of fear more generally. So that form of regulation is totally legitimate, but it didn't specify the number of women. So it was not tethered to, how many women because they were likely to be a brothel or something like that.
Add to that another unrelated thing that cities and towns have the power to do. Okay, so we know there's some regulation out there that says, yeah, you can't have more than a couple of unrelated people living together, and we've maybe smashed these two together in our minds.
I think so. I bet that's the origin story of the myth.
And now from Animal House to an allegedly real animal. And a chilling question: did a simian ghost spend decades quietly haunting the very air inside of one of Boston's most hallowed institutions?
As they were demolishing the Boston Garden, they supposedly found this monkey was not alive somewhere up in the rafters of the Boston Garden, and somebody had it, but there was no real photographic proof of it at that point, and there was a lot of people kind of denying that it even existed.
2 decades after those unconfirmed reports, Eaton decided to reopen the case.
I did find that in the 30s, Barnum and Bailey Circus had come to town, and 11 monkeys had gone missing that day, and only 4 had been recovered before the circus left town. So that means that there was a handful of monkeys that remained unaccounted for.
It was a promising development, so Eaton appealed to the public for new leads.
I got contacted by a woman who said her husband was actually one of the building wreckers on that project, and that they have photographic proof that this monkey is real and that I could come over and ask some questions. He pulled out the photo album and let me look through. It was like developed film photo after photo of this monkey in various places in and around the garden, different building wreckers posing with it, putting like Dunkin' Donuts cups in its hand. So the monkey had quite the experience.
It was a stunning confirmation that the monkey did once exist. So, did this building wrecker know what became of it after its series of close-ups?
He said he had been storing it like in his basement or something, and over time he had come back and the only thing he saw that was left was the monkey's skull. So I got to see in real life for myself the monkey's skull, and that was my confirmation that the Boston Garden monkey was a real thing.
Many questions still remain. If it wasn't one of the escaped circus monkeys, where did it come from? And if it was, what happened to the other 7? Perhaps one of you watching now holds the key to unlocking the rest of this mystery. If you have any information, please call the number on your screen or send us details at curiositydesk@wgbh.org. Well, there you have it, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Our thanks to Emerson College for always keeping us curious. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III, and you stay curious out there.